Hello, welcome. My name is Lenita. I'm the Scrappy Grandma, and this is my Torah Portion playlist where I read out of the Bible. And this week is week 47. We only have 51, 52, 54. We only have 7 more portions until we start all over again. So it's been an amazing year of learning and submitting and humility and fun. Anyway, we'll start out. Father Yah, thank you so much for the opportunity to share your word, to read your word, to feast on your word. Father, I pray for everyone that listens to this, Father, that you give them eyes to see and ears to hear you, and you give them a passion and a hunger and a thirst for your word, to where they just want to feast on your word more than anything else, Father. Help us to give up and relinquish all the other things, the distractions in our life, so that we can walk closer in covenant with you, so that we can be the salt and the light, and that we can be the workers. The harvest is plentiful, the workers are few, Father. Let's help us to be faithful workers for your kingdom, my King. Bless this word today. Let only what you want to come out of my mouth come out of my mouth. And just bless everyone that listens to it. In your son Yeshua's name. Amen. All right. We are in, I should have looked up how to pronounce it. Re, R-E, whatever that is. E-H, sometimes being a dropout. Yeah, I don't know what certain things are. Anyway, so, and it is Deuteronomy 11:26 through 16:17. That's the Torah portion. The prophets is Isaiah 54:11 through 55:5. And the Gospels is John 6:35 through 51. So, and I pray everyone's doing well. We're so incredibly blessed. The Father's just poured out blessings. And in the same time, we're going through a real season of, it's a heavy season. My mom is not well. She's in the hospital. I'm looking at spinal surgery. And it was interesting going and visiting my mom this weekend, and really processing it and really spending time with the Father, being present with him through it, present. Anyway, I realized that I still have quite a bit of trauma where hospitals are concerned. And, but he definitely set me free this weekend from a lot of emotional trauma that, it didn't trigger. I was quiet, processing, but, no panic attacks, no, you know. So he's done a good work, a good work. When we pursue shalom, when we pursue peace, and we take all thoughts captive, it really does help change your mindset and how we react to things. So it's heavy. There's a lot of decisions. There's a lot of research, things we have to look into. But he's so faithful, and that we can just trust him with it. And however it's working out is his will for our best interest, for his kingdom. So anyway, all right. So Re'eh. So in Parshat Re'eh, Moses makes a dramatic appeal to Israel to choose to obey the commandments of the Most High. This is one of my favorites. See, I set before you blessings. I set before you blessing and curse. A blessing if you follow, if you follow Yah's ways, but a curse if you turn to idolatry and forsake the way of the Most High. A ceremony would later be held between the mountains of Gerizim and Ebal upon entering the promised land, during which the consequences of the blessing and curse would be pronounced. And that's Deuteronomy 27:12. And there's also in Joshua 8:30 through 35. So, all right. See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. Deuteronomy 11:26. The doctrine that man has free will. I heard a teaching on this here recently, and it was really interesting. So the doctrine that man has free will is considered a fundamental principle in Jewish thought, at least according to some of the Jewish sages. For example, Rabbi Akiva is reported to have said, though everything is foreseen by God, yet free will be granted to man. Advot 3:19. Anyway, notice that the key word ra'ah is singular. You see. I think I have it here as behold. Whereas the pronoun, a Hebrew word that looks really intimidating, before you is plural. Each person is to personally see that the blessing and the curse will affect the entire community of Israel. This is summed up in the famous dictum, all Israel is responsible for one another. We are our brother's keepers. Sacrifices only at the appointed place. Because idolatrous practices were so common in the land of Canaan, including the sacrifice of children to false gods, the people were commanded to destroy all objects related to idolatry. They were not to serve the Most High in a manner that even vaguely resembled the abominable customs of the 7 Canaanite nations, with their altars upon hilltops and under trees. According to Deuteronomy 7, the 7 nations were the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites. Instead, the Hebrews were commanded to seek the place that Yah, their Elohim, would choose out of all of their tribes to put his name and make his habitation there. Sacrifices were to be offered at the Most High's chosen place and no other. Ritual slaughtering. The non-sacrificial slaughtering of a kosher animal was permitted for food so long as all the animal's blood was removed, poured out with. This is good because I know we had questions back where there was a Torah portion quite a while back, but it was talking where it was like, and it might be actually be coming up, might have been one of the ones from last year, but something about that the only time that they could, that every time that they killed an animal, it had to be done at the tabernacle. And so it raised a lot of questions. So let's hear. Ritual slaughtering. The non-sacrificial slaughtering of a kosher animal was permitted for food, so long as the animal's blood was removed, poured out with the meat salted, and later washed to remove any residue. Interesting. I didn't know that. An animal that was not properly, that's why every sacrifice, every sacrifice has to have salt. So an animal that was not properly slaughtered according to Shetecha is called Naviela, and may not be eaten. As explained earlier in Kedoshim, the eating of blood is strictly forbidden and is subject to having your life cut short. The same penalty applies to those who consort with wizards and necromancers, familiar spirits, or who practice any form of witchcraft. Perhaps this prohibition derives from the practice of the ancient Egyptians who used to kill animals and drink their blood in order to predict the future. So then it's going to be, so, and I'm sorry, I didn't even let you know. I'm reading from a commentary. It's called A Year Through the Torah a week-by-week journey for Christians, and it really helps to set the stage to understand what we're going to be reading before we actually start reading it. So the giving of tithes, 3 types of tithes are mentioned in this portion of the Torah. And it is Mazir Rishon. A tenth of a farmer's produce was given to the Levites who did not have their own portion of land in Israel as a tithe. Those amounted to supporting the priesthood and Torah teachers of Israel. Masir Shini, the land itself was tithed a second additional time after separating the Masir Rishon on the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th year of the 7-year sabbatical cycle, the Shemitahs. This produce was taken to the appointed place of worship, later Jerusalem, and eaten there in celebration. Masir Ani, in the 3rd and 6th year, the Masir Shanini was given to the poor instead of being brought to the appointed place. The poor could then glean from the crops and enjoy the good of the land. Navi Sheker, the false prophet. If a prophet or dreamer of dreams arises that performs a sign or a wonder and entices you to follow other gods, you are not to take heed to his or her words, but understand that the Most High is testing you to see if you love him with all of your heart and soul. You can discern if a prophet is false by testing them. If they claim a god or an idol spoke to them, then they are lying, since only Yah is Elohim, and other so-called gods are impostors or demons. Another test is to see whether they abide by the commandments of Moses. A true prophet would not add to or take away from his message. That's interesting right here. So prophets have to abide by the commandments of Moses. The penalty of delivering false prophecy is severe. The false prophet shall be put to death. Indeed, if even a close family member secretly suggests that you abandon Yah to follow after other gods, you shall not listen to him, but rather reprove him openly. Then you shall kill him. Your hand shall be first against him to put him to death, and afterwards the hands of all the people. You shall stone him to death with stones, because he sought to draw you away from Yah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. And all Israel shall hear and fear and never again do any such wickedness as this among you. Deuteronomy 13, 9 and 10. If an entire city falls prey to adultery, the city should be utterly destroyed. This is called Ir ha-nidahat, a city condemned for idolatry. All the inhabitants shall be put to death, and all their possessions must be burned as a whole burnt offering to Yah, your Elohim. The city may never again be rebuilt. Shemitah. We have so many conversations in our Bible study about this, because we all want to, we don't have to do any of these things. We don't have to follow these laws. We don't have to follow these commandments. We love to. And as we do our life, the blessings that are poured, at which, what did it say? If you do these things, you get the blessing. And if you don't do these things, you get the curses. And we have found that actually implementing his ways brings blessings and holds back curses. So we all, kind of trying to figure out, not we all, but many of us are trying, that have gardens and such, are trying to figure out when our Shemitah year is. And one of my friends, she actually, Deborah, One Flock Farm, they did a Shemitah year last year where they just let their garden go. And her garden this year is the most beautiful garden I've ever seen. Father is just so faithful. So, and I think mine might be a Shemitah years this year, because there's nothing I could do. My garden just is awful. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of years. But anyway, the Shemitah, the sabbatical year, every 7 years is a Shemitah, a time of rest for the land. In addition, Moses added that the 7th year should mark a time of canceling debts owed to one's fellow Hebrews. At the end of every 7 years, you shall grant a release, a shemitah, and this is the manner of the release. Every creditor shall release shemot, what he has lent to his neighbor. He shall not extract it from his neighbor, his brother, because of Yah's release. The shemitah el Adonai has been proclaimed. As a foreigner, you may exact it, but whatever of yours is with your brother, your hand shall release. Tashmet Yadakah. But there will be no poor among you, for Yah will bless you in the land that Yah your Elohim is giving to you for an inheritance to possess. And after the Shemitah year has passed, a Hebrew who lent money to another may no longer ask for repayment. This did not apply to loans made to foreigners. Moses further warned the people not to begrudge their giving to the needy to their needy brother, because the Shemitah year was near. No, they were commanded to be generous and willingly help the poor among them. Doing so yields a promise. For this, Yah, your Elohim, will bless you in all your works and all that you undertake. Deuteronomy 15:10. Indeed, if the Israelites were obedient to the commandments of Yah, to the commandments Yah promised them, then there would be such abundance that there would be no poor people living in the land. The regular practice of charity and the forgiving of debts were indeed to provide a dignified society of people that cared for one another as family. The Most High was not creating a caste system in Israel. This leads to the opening thought of the Parsha. All Israel is responsible for one another. Indeed, according to many sages, the giving of charity can change an evil decree from the Lord, as long as it is accompanied by true repentance. Note, later, when Hillel saw people refraining from lending in transgression of Shemitah law, he ordered the pospo, which ensured the repayment of loans, notwithstanding the sabbatical year. Mishnah Shevet 10:3. Hillel's interpretation meant that a creditor was free to accept payment of a debt, notwithstanding an intervening sabbatical year, so long as the creditor had first verbally relinquished the debt. Indentured servitude. If an Israelite stole money and could not repay it, he or she was to be sold as a slave for 6 years of indentured servitude. The money was of the sale paid for the theft. In the 7th year, however, he was to be set free. When a slave was set free, however, he or she was to be given gifts and supplies to begin life again. That's so cool. Deuteronomy 15:13 and 14. If the slave preferred to remain as a servant to the master, however, the master was to take an awl and put it through the slave's ear into the door as a mark of ownership for perpetuity. Firstborn males. All the firstborn males of the herd and flock shall be dedicated to Yah. They shall not be worked or put to profane use, but only sacrificed and eaten before Yah at the appointed place. However, if the firstborn has any blemish, it shall not be sacrificed, though it may be ritually slaughtered and eaten as other kosher meat. So they could eat it, but not sacrifice it to Yah. Shilash Rekelim, the 3 pilgrimage festivals. The Parsha concludes with the reminder that all of Israel was to observe Shilash Rekelim, the 3 major pilgrimage festivals: Passover, Pentecost, and Tabernacles. Each Israelite was to make a pilgrimage to the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and later at the temple, and offer sacrifices according to his means. There were times of rejoicing and fellowship. These were times of rejoicing and fellowship before Yah, their Elohim, as his treasured people. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Come on, where is it? There it is. Share. No. There we go. And that one. And one. There we go. Share. Wonderful. Okay. So starts at Deuteronomy 11:26. See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing when you obey the commands of Yah your Elohim, which I command you today, and the curse if you do not obey the commands of Yah your Elohim, but turn aside from the way which I command you today to go after other mighty ones which you have not known. And it shall be when Yah your Elohim has brought you into the land which you go to possess, that you shall put the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal. Are they not beyond the Jordan toward the setting of the setting sun in the land of the Canaanites who dwell in the desert plain, opposite Gilgal, beside the terebinth trees of Morah? For you are passing over the Jordan to go in to possess the land which Yah your Elohim is giving you, and you shall possess it and dwell in it, and shall guard to do all the laws and right rulings which I am setting before you today. And the laws and right rulings which you guard to do in the land of Yah your Elohim, or Elohim of your fathers, is giving you to possess all the days that you live on the soil. Completely destroy all of the places where the nations which you are disposing served their mighty ones, on the high mountains and on the hills and under every green tree. And you shall break down their slaughter places and smash their pillars and burn their asherim with fire. And you shall cut down the carved images of their mighty ones and shall destroy their name out of that place. Footnote, the names of the Gentile deities, mighty ones. Do not do so to Yah your Elohim, but seek the place which Yah your Elohim chooses out of all of your tribes to put his name there for his dwelling place, and there you shall enter. And there and there you shall take your ascending offerings and your slaughterings and your tithes and your contributions of your hand and your vow offerings and your voluntary offerings and the firstlings of your herd and your flock. And there you shall eat before Yah your Elohim and shall rejoice in all that you put your hand to, you and your households in which Yah your Elohim has blessed you. Do not do as we are doing here, each one doing whatever is right in his own eyes. See Judges 17:6 and Judges 21:25. Because you have not yet entered the rest and the inheritance which Yah your Elohim is giving you, but you shall pass over the Jordan, and shall dwell in the land which Yah your Elohim is giving you to inherit, and he shall give you rest from your enemies round about, and you shall dwell in safety. And it shall be that unto the place which Yah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell there, there you are to bring all that I command you, your ascending offerings, your slaughterings, your tithes, your contribution of your hand, and all your choice offerings which you vow to Yah. And you shall rejoice before Yah, your Elohim, you and your sons and your daughters, and your male servants and your female servants, and the Levite, who is within your gates, since he has no portion nor inheritance with you. Guard yourself that you do not offer your sending offerings in every place that you see, except in the place which Yah chooses in one of your tribes. There you are to offer your sending offerings, and there you are to do all that I have commanded you. Only whatever your being desires you shall slaughter and eat, according to the blessings of Yah your Elohim, which he has given you. Within all of your gates, the unclean and the clean do eat of it, meaning anyone can eat of it, even if you're ritually unclean. Of the gazelle and the deer, like, oh, maybe this is the Torah portion where we like, can we, so it's here we can, okay. Only whatever your being desires that you shall slaughter and eat, according to the blessings of Yah your Elohim, which he has given you within your gates, the unclean and the clean alike. So you can be ritually clean, like you may have touched a dead body or have had intercourse, but you'd still be able to eat of the gazelle and the deer alike. Only the blood you do not eat. Pour it on the earth like water. You are not allowed to eat within your gates the tithe of your grain, or of your new wine, or your oil, or of the firstlings of your herd, or your flock, or of any of your offerings which you vow, or your voluntary offerings, or of the contribution of your hand. So, and any of the offerings have to be done at the tabernacle. But eat them before Yah, your Elohim, in the place which Yah, your Elohim, chooses you and your sons and your daughter and your male servant and your female servant and the Levite who is within your gates. And you shall rejoice before Yah, your Elohim, in all that you put your hands to. Guard yourself. Whenever I hear that, it's like, okay, pay attention. Guard yourself that you do not forsake the Levite as long as you live in your land. Make sure you're always taking care of them because they don't have a portion. When Yah, your Elohim, enlarges your border as he has promised you, and you say, let me eat meat, because you long to eat meat, you eat as much meat as your being desires. When the place where Yah, your Elohim, chooses to put his name is too far from you, then you shall slaughter from your herd and from your flock, which Yah has given you, as I have commanded you, and you shall eat within your gates as much as your being desires. Only as the gazelle and the deer are eaten, so you are to eat of it. The unclean and the clean alike eat of it. Only be strong not to eat the blood, for the blood is the life. Do not eat the life with the meat. Do not eat it. You pour it on the earth like water. Do not eat it, that it might be well with you and your children after you when you do what is right in the eyes of Yah. Only the set apart gifts which you have and your vowed offerings you are to take up and go to the place which Yah chooses. And you shall make your ascending offerings, the meat and the blood, on the slaughter place of Yah your Elohim, and the blood of your slaughterings is poured out on the slaughtering place of Yah your Elohim, and you eat the meat. Guard and obey all of these words which I command you, that it might be well with you and your children after you forever when you do what is good and right in the eyes of Yah your Elohim. Warning against idolatry. When Yah your Elohim does cut off from before you the nations which you go to dispossess, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, guard yourselves that you are not ensnared to follow them. Think about all of the traditions that we have been doing for hundreds of years here in America, and it's traditions that aren't biblical. Okay, so guard yourselves that you do not you are not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire about their mighty ones, saying, how did these nations serve their mighty ones? And let me do so. Footnote, see also Deuteronomy 18:9, Leviticus 18:3, Jeremiah 10:2, Ezekiel 11:12, Ezekiel 20:32, Ephesians 4:17, and 1 Peter 4:3. Do not do so to Yah your Elohim, for every abomination which Yah hates they have done to their mighty ones. For they even burn their sons and daughters in the fire to their mighty ones. All of the words I'm commanding you, guard to do it, and do not add to it nor take away from it. Footnote, see also Deuteronomy 4:2, Proverbs 36, and Revelation 22:18 and 19. Okay, we're going to 16. When there arises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he shall give you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder shall come true, of which he had spoken to you, saying, let us go after other mighty ones which you have not known, and serve them. Do not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for Yah your Elohim is trying you to know whether you love Yah your Elohim with all of your heart and with all of your being. Walk after Yahweh your Elohim, and fear him, and guard his commands, and obey his voice, and serve him, and cling to him. And that prophet or that dreamer of dream is put to death, because he has spoken apostasy against Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim and ransomed you from the house of bondage, to make you stray from the way in which Yah your Elohim commanded you to walk. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. When your brother, the son of your mother, or your son, or your daughter, or your wife, the wife of your bosom, or your friend who is as your own being entices you to secretly saying, let us go and serve other mighty ones, which you have not known, neither you nor your fathers, of the mighty ones of the people which are all around us, near to you or far off from you, from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. Do not agree with him or listen to him, nor shall your eye pardon him, nor spare him or conceal him. But you shall certainly kill him. Your hand is first against him, to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. And you shall stone him with stones until he dies, because he sought to entice you away from Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the house of bondage. And let all Israel hear and fear, and not again do any such evil matters as this in your midst. When you hear someone in one of your cities, which Yah your Elohim gives you to dwell in, saying, some men, sons of Belial, have gone out of your midst and led the inhabitants of the city astray, saying, let us go and serve other mighty ones whom you have not known. Then you shall inquire, search out, and ask diligently, and see if the matter is true, and established that this abomination was done in your midst. And you shall certainly strike the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, putting it under the ban, and all that is in it and its livestock with the edge of the sword, and gather all the plunder into the middle of the street, and completely burn with fire the city and all the plunder before Yah your Elohim, and it shall be a heap forever, never to be built again. And none of that which is under the ban is to cling to your hand, so that Yah turns from the fierceness of his displeasure, and shall show you compassion, love you, and increase you, as he swore to your fathers. When you obey the voice of Yah, your Elohim, to guard all of his commands, which I command you today, to do what is right in the eyes of Yah, your Elohim. You are the children of Yah, your Elohim. Do not cut yourselves, nor shave the front of your head for the dead, which was a custom of the pagan nations. For you are a set-apart people to Yahweh your Elohim, and Yah has chosen you to be a people for himself, a treasured possession above all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. Do not eat whatever is abominable. These are living creatures which you do eat: ox, sheep, and goat, deer and gazelle, roebuck, wild goat, mountain goat, antelope, mountain sheep, and every beast that has a split hoof divided in two, chewing the cud among the beasts you do eat. But of those chewing the cud, or those having a split hoof completely divided, you do not eat, such as these: the camel and the hare and the rabbit, for they chew their cud, but do not have a split hoof. They are unclean for you. And the pig is unclean for you, because it has a split hoof, but does not chew its cud. You do not eat their flesh or touch their dead carcasses. These you do eat of all of the water, all of that have fins and scales you do eat. And whatever does not have fins and scales you do not eat. It is unclean for you. Any clean bird you do eat, but these you do not eat: the eagle, the vulture, the black vulture, the red kite, the falcon, the buzzard after their kind, and every raven after its kind, and the ostrich and the nighthawk, and the seagull and the hawk after their kind, the little owl and the great owl and the white owl, and the pelican and the caron vulture and the fisher owl, and the stork and the heron after its kind, and the hoopoe and the bat, and every creeping insect that flies is unclean for you. They are not eaten. Any clean bird you do eat. Do not eat whatever dies of itself. Give it to a stranger who is within your gates to eat it, or sell it to a foreigner, for you are a set apart people to Yah your Elohim. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. Tithe. You shall tithe without fail all the yield of your grain, and the field brings forth and that the field brings forth year by year. And you shall eat before Yah your Elohim at the place where he chooses to make his name dwell, the tithes of your grain and your new wine and your oil and your firstling of your herd and your sheep, so that you learn to fear Yah your Elohim always. But when the way is too long for you, so that you're not able to bring the tithe, or when the place where Yah your Elohim chooses to put his name is too far from you, when Yah your Elohim is blessing you, then you shall give it in silver, and shall take the silver in your hand and go to the place which Yah your Elohim chooses. And you shall use the silver for whatever your being desires, for cattle or sheep, for wine or strong drink, or whatever your being desires. And you shall eat there before Yah your Elohim, and you shall rejoice, you and your household. And do not forsake the Levite who is within your gates, for he has no part nor inheritance with you. At the end of every third year, you bring all of the tithe of your increase, and that year, and store it up within your gates. And the Levite, because he has no portion nor inheritance with you, and the sojourner and the fatherless and the widow who are within your gates shall come and eat and be satisfied, so that Yah your Elohim does bless you in all the work of your hands which you do. And at this 15, at the end of every 7 years, you make a release of debts. Imagine if we actually did this. I mean, life would be so different. We wouldn't be under the burden of debt. Just amazing. And everyone took care of everyone. Just so, and this is the word of the release. Every creditor is to release what he has loaned to his neighbor. He does not require it of his neighbor or his brother, because it is called the release of Yah. Of a foreigner, you could require it, but your hand is to release whatever is owed by your brother. Only there should be no poor among you, for Yah does greatly bless you in the land which Yah your Elohim is giving you to possess as an inheritance. Only if you diligently obey the voice of Yah your Elohim to guard to do all of these commands which I'm commanding you today. For Yah your Elohim shall bless you as he promised you, and you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow, and you shall rule over many nations, but they do not rule over you. When there is a poor man with you, but one of your brothers within any of your gates in your land, which Yah your Elohim is giving you, do not harden your heart nor shut your hand from your poor brother. For you shall certainly open your hand to him and certainly lend him enough for his need, whatever he needs. Be on guard, lest you be thought of Belial in your heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release is near, and your eye is evil against your poor brother, and you give him not. And he shall cry out to Yah against you, and it shall be a sin in you. You shall certainly give to him, and your heart should not be grieved when you give to him, because for this reason Yah your Elohim does bless you in all of your works and in all to which you put your hand. Because the poor one does not cease from the land, therefore I am commanding you, saying, you shall certainly open your hand to your brother, to your poor, and to your needy one in your land. When your brother is sold to you, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, and shall serve you 6 years, then let him go free from you in the 7th year. And when you send him away free from you, let him not go empty-handed. You shall richly supply him from your flock and from your threshing floor and from your winepress, with which Yah has blessed you with, give to him. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Mitzrayim, and Yah your Elohim ransomed you. Therefore, I am commanding you this word today. And it shall be when he says to you, do not go away. I do not go away from you, because he loves you and your house, because it is good for him with you. Then you shall take an awl and an awl and thrust it through his ear to the doorpost, and he shall be your servant forever. Do the same to your female servant. Let it not be hard in your eyes when you send him away free from you, for he has been worth a double hired servant in serving you 6 years, and Yah your Elohim shall bless you in all that you do. Set apart to Yah your Elohim all the firstborn males that come from your herd and your flock, and do not work with the firstborn of your herd, nor shear the firstborn of your flock. You and your household are to eat it before Yah your Elohim year by year in the place which Yah chooses. But when there is any deficit in it, lame or blind, or it has any evil defect, do not slaughter it. Oh no, where'd it go? There we go. Do not slaughter it to Yah your Elohim. Eat it within your gates, the unclean and the clean alike, as the gazelle and as the deer, only do not eat its blood, pour it out on the ground like water. 16:17. Okay. Guard the new moon of Abib and perform the Pesach to Yah your Elohim, the Passover. For in the new moon of Abib, that's the first month of the year, Yah your Elohim brought you out of Mitzrayim, Egypt, by might. Footnotes, Pesach, see explanatory notes, Passover or month. Deuteronomy 16:2, and you shall slaughter the Pesach, the Passover, to Yah your Elohim from the flock and from the herd in the place where Yah chooses to put his name. Eat no leavened bread with it. For 7 days you eat unleavened bread with it, bread of affliction, because you came out of the land of Mitzrayim in haste, so that you remember the day in which you came out of the land of Mitzrayim all the days of your life. Father's so big on remembrances because we need them, because we're human and we always need to remind ourselves what he's done for us and to constantly give him the glory. And no leaven should be seen with you in all of your borders for 7 days. Neither should any of the meat which you slaughter in the evening of the first day stay until all night until morning. You are not allowed to slaughter the Pesach within any of your gates, which Yah your Elohim gives you. But at the place where Yah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell, there you slaughter the Pesach in the evening at the going down of the sun at the appointed time you came out of Mitzrayim. And you shall roast and eat it in the place where Yah your Elohim chooses, and in the morning you shall turn and go to your tents. 6 days you eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there is a closing festival to Yah your Elohim. You do no work. The Feast of Weeks. Count 7 weeks for yourself and begin to count 7 weeks from the time you began to put the sickle to the grain. And you shall perform the festival of Shavuot to Yah your Elohim according to the voluntary offering from your hand, which you give as Yah your Elohim blesses you. And you shall rejoice before Yah your Elohim, you and your sons and your daughters and your male servants and your female servants, and the Levite who is within your gates, and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow who are in your midst, at the place where Yah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell. And you shall remember that you were a slave in Mitzrayim, and you shall guard and do these laws. Feast of Booths, Tabernacles, which is coming up in a month or so. Perform the festival of Sukkot for 7 days after the ingathering from the threshing floor and from the winepress, footnote, booths. And you shall rejoice in your festival, and you and your sons and your daughters, and your male servant and your female servant, and the Levite and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow who are within your gates. For 7 days you shall celebrate to Yah your Elohim in the place where Yah chooses, because Yah your Elohim blesses you in all your increase and all the work of your hands, and you shall be only rejoicing. 3 times a year, all your males shall appear before Yah your Elohim in the place which he chooses, at the festival of Matzot, unleavened bread, at the festival of Shavuot, Pentecost, and at the festival of Sukkot. It's booths, tents, tabernacles. And none should appear before Yah empty-handed. Footnotes, see weeks, booths, and unleavened bread. But each one with the gift of his hand, according to the blessing of Yah your Elohim, which he has given you. So that's the end of the portion. Now the next is Isaiah. So we go to Isaiah for the Haftarah, and Isaiah 54:11. Start there through 55:5. Oh, you afflicted one, tossed with storm and not comforted. See, I am setting your stones in antimony and shall lay your foundation with sapphires and shall make your battlements of rubies and your gates of crystals and all of your walls of precious stone and all your children taught by Yah and the peace of your children great. In righteousness you shall be established, far from oppression, for you shall not fear, and far from ruin, for it does not come near you. See, they shall indeed assemble, but not because of me. Whoever shall assemble against you falls for your sake. See, I myself have created the blacksmith who blows the coals in the fire, who brings forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall prove wrong. This is the inheritance of the servants of Yahweh, and their righteousness from me, declares Yahweh. Oh, everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and you who have no silver, come and buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without silver and without price. Why do you weigh out silver for what is not bread, and your labor for what is does not satisfy? Listen to me and eat what is good, and let your being delight itself in fatness. Incline your ear and come to me, hear, so that your being lives, and let me make an everlasting covenant with you, the trustworthy, loving commitments of David. See, I have given him as a witness to the people, a leader and a commander for the people. See, a nation you do not know, you shall call, and a nation who does not know you run to you because of Yah your Elohim and the set apart one of Israel, for he has adorned you. And then John. Where we go, John 6:35. Okay. And Yeshua said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall not get hungry at all, and he who believes in me shall not get thirsty at all. But I said to you that you have seen me and still not believe. And all this the Father gives me shall come to me, and the one who comes to me I shall by no means cast out. Because I have come down out of heaven and do not my own desire, but the desire of him who sent me. This is the desire of the Father who sent me, that all he has given me I should not lose of it, but should raise it in the last day. And this is the desire of him who sent me, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him should possess everlasting life, and I shall raise him up in the last day. Therefore, the Yahudim, the Jews, were grumbling against him because he said, I am the bread which comes down out of heaven. And they said, is not this Yeshua, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How is it then that he says, I have come down out of heaven? Then Yeshua answered and said to them, do not grumble with one another. No one is able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I shall raise him up in the last day. It has been written in the prophets that they shall all be taught by Yah. Isaiah 54:13, and Jeremiah 31:34. Everyone then who has heard from the Father and learned comes to me. Not that anyone has seen the Father except he who is from Elohim. He has seen the Father. Truly, truly I say to you, he who believes in me possesses everlasting life. I am the bread of life. Your fathers ate the manna in the wilderness and they died. This is the bread which comes down out of heaven so that anyone might eat it and not die. I am the living bread which came down from heaven, and if anyone eats this bread, he shall live forever. And indeed, the bread that I shall give is my flesh, which I shall give for the life of the world. And that is it for today. There we go. All right. So be blessed, and I will see you next week. Oh, perfect timing. I've got a phone call. Bye.